Hey there, everybody. What is going on? Sean here with Zero to Income. And today I want to talk about the importance of developing your sites to be responsive and mobile ready. Okay. I know some of you people are probably watching this going, well, duh. But what you're going to find, when you're using system.io, okay, and this is obviously we focus a lot on system.io here. But again, I think these are everything I'm going to say here is going to pertain to any kind of web development that you do. But with system.io, when you're going through and grabbing templates, oftentimes those templates have not been optimized for mobile. So something to kind of keep in mind when you are going in and using a built-in system.io template is play with it, preview it. And before you do a whole lot of work with it, look at it on mobile, pull it up in your different devices and see how it looks. Okay. So, this was just something that I was really kind of wanting to share with everybody because I've been working on some code for our premium toolbox, which if you'd like to get access to that premium toolbox, you can sign up for the free toolbox down below, get on our mail list. And when we launch this premium toolbox, we'll shoot it out, an email to everybody to let you know. But one of the tools that I've been working on for the premium toolbox is updating the rotating image carousel. And this has been a 3-day project. And it's been a 3-day project because getting it to be responsive has been a bear. That being said, even though it's a bear, I think it's really, really important that when we're building stuff, that it works on mobile. And let's jump over to our desktop here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. What we're looking at here is the most current version that's going to be part of the premium toolbox. How this is different from the free toolbox one. The image carousel in the free toolbox is in landscape mode. This is more of a portrait mode. The other thing that this one does, when you hover over it, it stops and a hand comes up to let you know that, hey, something's happening. When you pull it away, it will start again after a couple of seconds. There it is. Now, here's the thing. When I was developing this and working on this for over the last 3 days, I ended up having to do two separate code snippets. And this is a strategy that I think some of you might be aware of. If you're not, what you can do when something's not looking quite right on mobile, and you can't get it to look right on both mobile and desktop, what you want to do is go and hide, create one specifically for desktop and hide it from mobile. And I'll show you this here in a minute. And then go to another version and develop it strictly for mobile and then hide that from desktop. And that's what I ended up doing with this. All right. So let me show you what I'm talking about here and I'll show it to you on the iPad. All right. So over here now, we've got the iPad and this here, what you're looking at, does not actually show up on, and it's not scrolling. Okay. So now you see right here, right now, there it goes. It finally started scrolling. The troubleshooting that goes into play when you're looking at this stuff. And, this is also kind of just a gotcha, if you will, if you're going to be using CSS on your system.io websites. And that is really, really test this stuff out. And keep in mind that they are going to be persnickety. All right. They're not always going to be perfect. All right. And so, when you're adding features to your system.io website or any website using CSS, you got to keep in mind here with a lot of this stuff is that, you are going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to do everything you possibly want. You're going to pull your hair out if you stop and say, hey, I want this to be really fancy and look like this. And I want these rounded corners and I want this, the images to be this shape, and there are things you can do before you add the images to system.io. You would do those to your images in Canva, and do whatever fancy stuff you want to do to them in Canva and then pull them over and have all the fancy stuff done. But if you're trying to, add features to images or to an element on a page using CSS. Drop shadow is another example. Maybe you're trying to bold a text. This I'm sure would work just fine, but maybe you want text to be a certain color. And sometimes what happens is the CSS just falls apart in the real world. All right. When you pull it up to a live site, like we're looking at here on the iPad, we're looking, this is live. And you'll find that, okay, what I really wanted didn't come out. So you've got to really also just understand limitations of CSS is that you can sit here and work on it and work on it and work on it and work on it. And sometimes you just got to say, hey, that's going to have to be good enough. All right. Sure, I'd love to have this to be a trapezoid image. But when I add the CSS for trapezoid, again, you could have done it in Canva. But when you go and add CSS for a trapezoid image, it falls apart, when you go and look at it on a live site. All right. And in that case, you got to kind of back out and say, okay, let's just be happy with the portrait. All right. All right, so let me show you next the version on the phone and pull this over. All right, so this is the phone. Again, this is the live site. We're looking at it live. Here, that probably kind of annoying in the background there. Let's just do this. And again, you'll also notice how on the phone, the drop shadow on these images, right? Look at that drop shadow. And what you'll find is that the iPad's not showing the drop shadow. And so what could be happening here is, again, we've got CSS just breaking down for some reason on the iPad. And so my main point here was, even though I have built into this code to have the drop shadow on the images, this was a perfect example of it not showing up properly with the CSS for some reason. The CSS just isn't rendering properly. So you're going to need to kind of keep that in mind, that you can do your best and get things dialed in as much as you can. But there's going to come a point where sometimes it just doesn't render in the real world, and you got to be okay with that. So best case effort, you just do your best effort, get it looking as nice as possible on all devices, and just realize that it might not be just like perfect, but it will be a whole lot better than something that just comes out of a default template where they didn't do any kind of mobile responsiveness at all. All right. Let's go back to our website now and pull that up. And I want to show you here what I was talking about as far as checking for mobile and showing for mobile, hiding from desktop, showing on desktop, hiding from mobile. All right. So again, I have two versions of this code snippet here. All right. So what you'll see here, look at this. It says desktop only. And the reason it's giving us this little red desktop only, if we click into it, is right in here. I've got this checkbox that says it's checked for desktop. And if I click on that, it'll show up on mobile as well. But I've unchecked it. So this is only showing up on desktop. Now, when I go over to my mobile version of this, and I scroll down right here. And again, the other thing you have to keep in mind with some of these elements is when you look at them on system.io, you'll look at this and go, wow, look at all of that space. Well, that's not the case. All right. When it's actually live, here's again, this is the live version on my phone. When it's actually live, that all that space isn't there. All right. And so that's another thing to kind of keep in mind when you're developing and popping stuff into system.io, is that you might look at this and go, that doesn't look right. Go ahead and save it. And again, even when you view it, oftentimes when you view it, it's still not going to be, it could still be different in the real world on different devices. So keep that in mind also. You can view it. You can do a preview. You can inspect pages like I do often. But again, I like to pull them up on my actual devices and see what do they look like on a live site on an actual device, and make sure things are looking right. Okay. So we're looking at here the mobile only version. All right. Desktop doesn't see this version of code. All right. I have it unchecked right over here for desktop, so it doesn't show. Now watch what happens when I click on this. Okay. Nothing's really happening right now, but watch what happens when we go over to desktop. We're going to see two. See, there's two. Got desktop only, and then this one's showing up on both. All right, so let's go back over to mobile. We'll go back over to here, and again, I want to hide this from desktop. I only want this on mobile. Okay, so again, that's just something I wanted to go over in this video about the importance. It could be just a pain in your neck trying to get things dialed in for mobile and making sure that they're responsive and look good on all screen sizes. But it's worth it to your audience. It's worth it to your website visitors to make sure that it's looking properly on all devices. Because folks, a lot of people use their phones a lot. And so we need to really make sure that things are dialed in so that they look right on a phone. Okay. So that being said, hopefully you're enjoying these videos. Dana and I have a whole bunch of System.io videos in our System.io playlist. Go check it out. And thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel.